All right, guys, welcome back to the Bootcamp Day 2. I hope you have liked our first class, and I see a few of them. You have joined my Slack channel. Please ask me questions if you have anything in the Slack as well, so that I can respond back. I have enabled the chat option, which was disabled yesterday in Zoom. So if you have a question, you can even write it in the chat, and then I can answer it to you. Okay. All right. So today we will just try to complete a few other slide decks that was there for day 1, and then we'll go to the day 2. Okay. So here we are talking about operators. If you remember, yesterday we spoke about data types, and I've given you some understanding about data types. I will talk more in terms of non-primitive data types in a while. When you understand class, you will understand this better. But let me talk about operators. All right, there are different kind of operators that we use in Java, starting with arithmetic operators, relational operators, logical, prefix and postfix, assignment operators, and ternary operators. Okay. So we'll go through one by one, all of them, and we can quickly understand this. I'm not going to write a piece of code for which is not required. For example, arithmetic operators are very simple to understand. I will quickly walk you through that. However, the other things like logical operators, I will actually write a code and show you how exactly things are working there. So arithmetic operators, it is very easily understandable, I suppose. Int a and int b and int result. There are 3 different variables I created. I've given some initial value to it, 10 and 5, and result is having a 0 value by default, right? That's all I have here. And then I'm saying result equals to a plus b. What does it mean? It means that I have performed an operation, which is an addition, and whatever the value it is, I simply set it back into the result variable. Now, the result variable was having the value as 0, but not anymore, because in this particular line, it has got the new value to it. Because, result is an integer type of variable, and you are adding 2 integers, and then you're getting that value into the result. So obviously, it will accept it. However, if you have a situation like this, saying string result equals to a plus b, and if you try to do that, you will immediately get the error saying, hey, you cannot convert an integer, because this result of a plus b is an integer. You cannot convert an integer to a string. That is not possible, because there is a data type mismatch. So if there is a data type mismatch, then how will you still get this thing done? I want to tell you this, that you have to basically convert your integer result into a string result. As simple as that. How can you do it? So that is exactly where a class called a string comes in place. So string is nothing but a class. At the same time, it is a data type as well. Now, because it is a data type and it is a class, hence, it has got additional features. The features are developed by Java developers. The guys who have developed the Java application or Java language, they have given it additional powers to convert a string to, an integer to a string. How can you do that? You can use something like this. You can say string dot parse int. You're parsing it. Parse int is a method. So string is a class, parse int is a method, and within this method, you're passing the value, which is a plus b. And when you do that, that's where the integer result, the integer value of a plus b, will get converted to a string, and then you can set it to the string result. Okay, so you have to understand when you are doing this kind of an operation, so you must be understanding one thing very clearly, that your left-hand side, that is storing your result, your left-hand side and your right-hand side, at least they are having similar data types. If they don't have it, then you will get the error. And if you get the error, then you have the option to even parse it. If you want to have a requirement where you want to convert a number to a string, which means it is a string, obviously the value is obviously 10, but it is basically a string format, you know, like within 2 quotes. That's a string format. And if it's a numeric, then you just go simple numeric, right? So if you want to create something like this, that's where you need to provide a parsing option. Anyways, so all I'm trying to say you here is that there are a few different type of arithmetical operations that you can perform. You can see I did a plus minus b, a multiplied by b, a divided by b, and a modulus b. So modulus is something different. Modulus means you're trying to get the remainder value. You're trying to get the remainder value. For example, you're dividing 10 by 5. You know how it will happen, right? So, for example, you have 10 here and you have 5 here. You're dividing 10 by 5. And if you do that in simple arithmetical knowledge, you will just divide 5 times 2, and that will be 10. And obviously, the remainder is 0. So you get the value as 0. However, if you have a value which is, for example, 11 divided by 5, then the remainder will be 1, right? 5 times 2 is 10, 11 minus 10 is 1, and that's 1 is going to be the modulus result. Okay, this particular modulus result is very important at times when you are asked to list down the numbers between 1 and 20 which are divisible by 2, right? You have to basically find out all the even numbers between 1 and 20, right? How can you do that? It's very simple. Every number that you go through, if it's 7, if it's 5, and you divide 2 by 5, then what will happen? You get the value as 1. So obviously it is not even number. But if it's divisible by 2, that is 4 divisible by 2, so it's an even number. So if the remainder is 0, that means it's a even number. Okay, so modulus will be working in such kind of situations. All right, now that is the arithmetic operations. Please stop me if you are having any questions in this part. Do you have any questions? Yeah, go on.
So you've created 3 integers there, and the third one is
sorry, go on.
No, just wondering, if you created the result integer to be something different from 0, would it still work?
No, it doesn't matter. So it's a variable, as I said yesterday, right? Which means whatever the value you have here, it doesn't matter. Whatever the new value that you have computed, it will simply replace that with an existing value of result. That's it.
Okay, but like, what if the result is not equal to a plus b?
No, you didn't get that. So yeah. A plus b is a particular computation value, whatever the value is. In this case, it is 15, right? This value 15, you're trying to store it somewhere so that you can process that information further, right?
Sure.
Which is why you are giving this value to the result variable so that you can process this result in a future code.
Okay.
This guy is just storing it. It's just a variable that is storing the value. That's it.
Sure.
Right? Okay.
Thanks.
No problem.
Yeah.
Avinash, you have a question? You have raised your hand.
Yeah, so my question is that when you initialize the result is 0,
Mhm.
so but suppose the requirement is not the starting point 0, it should be null. So is it
Starting
possible?
point is what? Starting point is what?
A null.
You cannot.
Okay.
You cannot set to null. Why?
Yeah.
Because it is a primitive data type, which is int.
Okay. Yeah.
Int has a default value of 0 always. If I
Okay.
set it to 0 or not, doesn't matter. Int always will have a default value of 0. However, if you are setting something like this, string name, name is a variable that is supposed to store a string value, right? And you are
Yeah.
not really giving any initial value to it. Like I'm not giving a value like wisdom QA, right? I'm not giving a value to it like wisdom QA. If I don't give it, then Java will by default set it to null. By default, Java will give a null value. And I can show that to you in a practical example, okay?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so
Perfect. Okay. Whisper, you have a question. Please go on.
Sorry, yesterday you told that after the double slash, what is written after the double slash doesn't impact on the execution.
Yeah,
of the
that is
script.
a comment. That is a comment.
Is a comment. Why is it useful to add the comment? Thank you.
It is useful to add the comment because think about it. You are not going to be the only person in your team who will write the code, right? You today is working for a company, totally fine with that. Tomorrow you will leave the company, you'll go to another company, right? So the code that you have written probably will be used for many more years. And whoever is newly introduced to your company or to your team will be scratching their head to understand what logic have you written. The logic that you have written probably is simple for you to understand because you have written it, but the person who is coming and who is looking into your code will be absolutely clueless. So it is always the best practice for you to write a line or two to basically talk about what exactly was your thoughts behind writing that piece of code. It is a best practice. Every developer does that, right? So that you're creating a system or you're creating a piece of code that is usable by anyone, ideally. Okay, nobody's expecting you to write a line or a comment with each and every line. No. For example, you're writing one method. So this is a method, right? So main is a method. Okay, main is a method, right? So at the top of the main method, you write a comment like this method is supposed to do A, B, C, D, something like that, and maybe 1-2 line to say what was the logic behind it. Just a simple, comment for anybody to read and understand what was your thought process behind writing that method. It's a very, very good best practice that every developer follow. I follow, every developer follows that. Is that making sense?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Good stuff. All right. Any more questions? No, I don't see any more hands raised. That is good. Let me just check something. Okay. So let's moving on to the next part. I'm getting some questions in the Slack. Will you share the slides? Yes, I will share the slides, Joseph. Which option in Eclipse should I choose when downloading Eclipse developers? Okay, you have the I think Java developers. See, I have given you one email where I have mentioned it. So Eclipse download. If you go in here and the first link you choose, and you get the Eclipse ID, and you just download this one, then that should be perfectly fine. Yeah, so you just go and download this. That should be perfectly fine. Okay.
No, yeah. When I download, I mean, there is an option, like 4 options. One is enterprise one is developers one.
Yeah, so just download the developers.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. Okay, so Arithmetic operator, I told you about what it is. Relational operator. This part, I really want to show you what exactly is happening here. It's very, very important for you to understand this slide. Relational operator is here to give us the understanding between the left-hand side and the right-hand side of an evaluation. You want to basically understand what is the difference between a left-hand operation and a right-hand operation, okay? Or left-hand value and a right-hand value, okay? So let me actually walk you through this. I'll create a new project here. By the way, I will actually have to get this project to you in your system for you to execute. I'll do that today. So new Java project, I'll just say day 2, and I'll say finish. Don't create, and I'm going to create a new package here, and I'll name this package as operators. Always make sure to keep the package named as lowercase. In case you have misspelled your components in the project, you can very easily refactor. You can see refactor rename. See that? Refactor rename, and when you do that, you can go and say operator. All right, that's how we always name our packages in lowercase. And then you say new class, and then we just say test operators with the main method, because it is going to be my kickoff point. Good. The next thing that I want to do is very simply, I'm going to say int a equals 10, int b equals 20. All right. I'm not doing anything else here. I'm not even writing a result variable. I'm not doing that. All I'm going to do is sysout, and I'm going to say a greater than b. That's it. And the same thing again, b greater than a. And let me run this program. As simple as that. If I run this program, you will see that it will result back with 2 different values, a false and a true. So what exactly is this happening here? I gave an arrow, okay, a greater than sign, right? And all I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to figure out if A is greater than B, or if B is greater than A. The value that is coming back to me is in form of a Boolean. It's a Boolean value. It is not a string output. The output of this operation is not string. Okay? The output of this operation is Boolean. How do I prove that? Let me prove it to you. I will say, for example, I will say, you see, in programming, everything happens for a reason, and it's very easily calculated, and you can very easily see it if you understand what you're doing. For example, if I do this, if I say int result, okay, equals 0, right? Like I was doing earlier in terms of integer or arithmetic operations, right? And if I say result equals to, in brackets, I'll give A greater than B. Look what happens. It is giving me an error. When you get an error, you don't get scared out. You don't get scared away. You should do your research. How do you research? Very simply, Eclipse is telling you, hover your mouse on the error. What does it say? It says type mismatch. Cannot, look at this, cannot convert from Boolean to int. Means what? Means the right hand side of this entire equation is a Boolean, and you cannot convert this to an integer. It's clearly telling you. So what options do you have? You actually have only one option in this case, and that is you need to make this as Boolean. If you do it, the error is gone. And you just say, okay, so now you see the error is in line number 10. Look at the error now. Type mismatch cannot convert from int to Boolean. What does it mean? It's a Boolean value. A Boolean value can be a true or a false, right? It cannot be 0 or a number. It cannot be. So it's a true or a false. So you cannot assign 0 to Boolean. You don't assign anything, rather. If you don't assign anything, what will Java do? Java will by default assign false to it. How do I know that? I'm not saying this out of nowhere, or I'm not saying this because I have the experience. I'm saying this because Java will tell you. How do you know it? There is a process, and this process is called as debugging. Debugging. Whenever anybody is trying to learn programming, and as soon as somebody says, hey, you need to debug the problem, they just get like totally freaked out. Like, what's really happening? How do I do it? It is as simple as following a very easy process. And I can prove that to you. To understand debugging, you have to know what is breakpoints. So breakpoints. What is a breakpoint? Breakpoint is basically strategy or a tool using which you can stop the program execution in the middle of the execution. What do I mean? For example, I really want to inspect what is happening in line number 10. I really want to inspect, I really want to know what is happening in line number 10, right? All I will do is I will hit this blue section twice. Okay? Or maybe line number 8. When I hit this blue section with double clicked on this particular section, you see there is a blue dot that came up here, and it says line breakpoint. And what exactly will happen here now? So let me save this. Actually, I can put a breakpoint here also now. 1 minute. Why can't this? Okay, it is basically giving me a section that why I didn't use this. So let me actually copy this section and paste it here. The variable name, I paste it here. Okay, good. Now I will double click this section. Okay, I cannot put a breakpoint because I'm not assigning it. That's fine. I'll do it here, line number 8. Okay. And now what I'll do is I will run this program in a debug mode. Look how simple it is. Earlier I was doing run as Java application. In this case, I will say debug as Java application. That's it. If I do it, just see what happens. It gives me one quick window. And this window says, do you want to go to debug perspective or debugging layout? So I don't want to go to debugging layout. I think I'm very good with the layout that I'm seeing here in the Eclipse. So I will just say, remember my decision, and I will say no. When I do it, you will see that the program is in debug mode right now, and it is at pause in line number 8. How do you know it is at pause? You will know that it is at pause because when you hover your mouse on line number 7, variable A, you will see the value 10 is assigned to the variable A. Do you see that? The value is 10 on this. However, line number B is not yet executed. So if I hover my mouse on line number B, I mean, in the value B, I don't really see any value to it. I still see that the variable is there, but it is not yet executed. Now I want to execute this particular line. How do I do that? There is this tool here at the top. You see that? It's called step over, this U-like curve, right? A U arrow, right? If you click on this, that takes you to the next line where the evaluation is happening. Now, if you hover your mouse on line number 8, variable B, you see the value is assigned to it. 20 is assigned to it. Okay. However, Boolean result, you probably have noticed that breakpoint didn't stop in line number 10. It skipped to line number 12. Why? Because there was no operation here. I didn't really assign any value to the result variable. However, Java did that for me automatically. If you hover your mouse on result, okay, this should be pointing to the value. Just 1 minute. I'll do one thing. I'll just take it from here and paste it here. Okay. Static. Okay. Let me try it one more time. All right. You see that? I have earlier kept this result variable in this particular section, which is why it didn't really show me the default value of result. However, in this line, when I kept it here at the top, there's a reason behind it, which I will explain it to you later on. I cannot really explain it to you right now because it will take a lot of time, why this exactly happened. But if you see, result was given a default value automatically by Java as soon as I kept it here. The space here is called global space. And there is a reason behind it, why it is called like that, which I can't really explain. It will take a lot of time. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that Java provides default values to its variables. Okay. Okay. Now, this is obviously false. Now, if I go and keep on continuing my program, the result is still false because A is not greater than B. And if I print this, it obviously printed me false here. And then this one printed me true because B is greater than B. B is greater than A, right? So whatever you see here is basically called as relational operator. There are various types of relational operators, which I wanted to show you here. This is all these guys. A double equals to B, meaning what? Meaning if A's value is equal to B's value, or A not equals to B. Obviously, in this case, you can see that A is not equals to B, so obviously I'll get false here. A not equals to B, obviously I'll get true here. A greater than B, I'll get true. A less than B, I'll get false. A greater than equals to B, what does it mean? That it is either 10 or it is either 5 or more than 5. So obviously this is true and the opposite is false. Correct? That's how you get into the relational operator section. All right. Any questions on this? Let me know. Okay.
I have one question.
Go on.
So, for which JDK we are going to use? JDK?
I told you Java 11.
Java
JDK
11. Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. It's called, Joseph, you have a question?
No. Actually, I'm having Java 8, so you told now it's okay, but later on you might need Java.
Yeah, exactly. That's
okay.
Logical operators. Here, things are a little different. I hope you can understand the strategy now a little bit. Earlier, I showed you how to evaluate just two numbers, A equals to B or A greater than B, whatever, right?
So if I want to install Java 11, so will it override the Java 8 or again
no,
I
you
have
want
to...
no, you uninstall Java 8 and get Java 11.
Okay, okay, sure.
So what I'm saying here is A equals to B, A equals to 10, right? So this part that I just spoke to you about a minute back, it was what? Relational operators. You're trying to understand if A is equals to B or not, if A is greater than B or not, something like those things, right? So these are relational operators, but now things are even more, challenging. How? So you are trying to understand if this relation and this relation is true or not. And that is where it is coming as logical operator. Whatever I'm talking to you about, all these different programming strategies or structures, they are all available in all the programming knowledge or language. I mean, whether you go for C# or you go for Python or you go for any other language, everywhere you have exactly same structure. Okay, so whatever you're learning with me, it can be applied anywhere else and vice versa. So what I'm trying to say here is this is a little bit more challenging. Here I'm saying if A is equals to B and A is equals to 10, and these two operations, if these two operations are true or not, okay? So obviously it is going to be false. Why? Because A is equals to B. It is not equals to B. A is equals to 10, that is right. But A is not equals to B. So obviously the overall operation is a false. And I got the value as false. Okay? Similarly, again, A is equals to B. A is equals to 10. But here, you see, earlier I used the AND operator. But here I'm using an OR operator. Meaning either, let me use a color coding. Just give me 1 minute. So either this one is true, or let me change it to green, or this one is true. So in this case, what happened? Obviously, this guy is true and this guy is false. So the overall result will be true because we have used the OR operator. Earlier, it was an AND operator, but you wanted to make sure that both the left-hand side equation and right-hand side equation were positive. But here, you're saying, if any of the operations are positive, then my overall result will be positive. Okay? And then you have another one, which is not equals to. If you're just trying to say that, I mean, it is just the opposite of this result, right? So the result was true earlier, and if you just say not, then obviously it's going to be false. As simple as that. Okay? I will give you an even better breakdown of this logical operator when somebody comes to me for the full training that I provide, and it's a 4 months training that I provide in test automation, where I help my students to find a job in test automation field. You probably have got the LinkedIn post by Seamus. Seamus is a HR in Ireland, and many of my students got placed with my training and his help. So when you come for the full training, that's where I talk more in details about these structures. Okay, but for now, I think this is fine. Okay, whatever we will be learning during the bootcamp, I think this is fine. So let's move on to the next part. Okay, very important concept, guys. It's called arrays. Okay, what is an array? So array is basically a collection. What do you mean by collection? So earlier you have seen that I'm creating variables like this. Int a equals 10, something like this, which means that I am trying to assign one value to one variable. Okay, so basically what is happening? Basically what is happening is in the JVM, okay, in the JVM, Java Virtual Machine, you are creating a variable. And you're giving the variable a name, which is a, and you're assigning a value to it, which is 10. That is exactly what happened when you said this, int a equals 10. Exactly what happened. Okay, in this situation of array, you're trying to basically store multiple values, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, multiple values under one single variable. That is basically called an array of variables. Okay, let me just an array of not variables, an array of multiple values. Okay, so let me just show you how it is done. It's very simple actually. Let me close this and take you to this section. I'll stop the execution here, and I'm going to create a new class here called test arrays with the main method finish. And you see, it's very simple. So for example, I want to create an array of numbers. How do I do that? I say int, because I want to store multiple integers. So I'll say int, and I will add a square bracket like this. And then I will say nums, that's the variable name. And then all I say is new, and I give a size to this array called 5. You see, this is the structure that I will create in order to have 5 empty boxes created in the memory. Okay, 5 empty boxes ready to store the values. And I can prove that, as I said, in Java or in programming, nothing is happening out of nowhere. Everything that we do has a logic, and everything can be understood if you know how to debug. So don't ever scare away from debugging. Okay, so let me just show it to you. I'll just say SYSO, and I'll put a breakpoint line number 10. All right, and then I will just run this program. This one line. All right, debug as Java application. As soon as I do that, you will see that I'm stopping in line number 10 because this line number 10 didn't execute yet. If I hover my mouse on nums, do you see this? Nothing is coming out of thin air. You have automatically created 5 boxes just like that in the memory. And because it is an integer, that's the reason why Java has given default value of 0 to all of these 5 boxes. As simple as that. Question is, how do I put value inside these variables or these boxes? Okay, so the process is simple again. Let me stop the execution, and I can put the value inside this variable using indexes. So nums of square bracket, and I will say 0th index, that means the first box. So in array, everything happens in index. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Index means nothing but position, right? So on the 0th position or the first position, I want to put a value which is, I don't know, let me say 10 here. Okay, and then I'll say nums of 2, and I give the value as 20, and I give nums of 3 or 4, I get the value of 30. Okay, so for 3 different indexes, I have added 3 different values. All right, simple as that. I'll do a debugging again, and when I do it, if I hover on my mouse, you see that? The first value, the first box, the second box, the fourth box, first box, the third box, and the fifth box, they all got the value, but rest of them are having 0 value from the default structure. This is an array. How do you get the value out of this array? Simple as it. With the help of indexes again. So what you do is you stop it and you just say, I want to get the value of the 4th index, just like that. And you run the program now, and you will get the value printed right here as 30, because on the 4th index, the value was set by me to 30, so I got the result back at 30. That is an array. There are multiple ways you can create or you can put the value inside the array. One way is this. So you first define the size and you put the value. This is one way of doing it. The preferred way, at least for me, is this. For example, I'm creating an array of strings, and I'm saying names. And all I want to do is I will add a flower bracket like this. And I will just put in the values just like that. I don't even need to define my size or whatsoever. I'll just give the values like, let me pick up some of the names. Adam. I'll put Akin. I'll put Andy. I'll say Avinash. And finally, I'll put Aisha. Right? So all 5 guys are here. Okay, how do I print them? No problem at all. Sys out, like exactly the way I was doing it earlier. I'll just say sys out names, and then I will say, let me get the 2nd index. And if I print it, if I run this, I get the value as Andy. Question to you is, how do I get all the values printed? One way I can think of is using the same syntax 5 times, right? Starting from 0, 1, 3, 4. If I do it, obviously all the names will be printed. No problem at all. However,
how about sys out prints ln names? Won't that work?
No, it will not, because it's an array. It's an array. If you do that, let me say, because you said that, if you do it, you get the value something like this. And what is this? It is basically telling you that, so this is basically called as hash code. So Java is recognizing this element as an entity with some kind of a hash code. And this hash code is this particular value here. So if you're trying to print out an object, this is an object. What is an object? It's a long discussion. I'll talk about it later on. But basically, you're trying to get the object printed out. If you're trying to access the object printed out, you get the value like this.
Oh, can you can you do on the sys out num1, num2, num3 that's with a comma on the sys out, like one sys out line, and then do nums like how you have the nums 4? Can you do nums1, nums 2?
You can't because println is a method. This method called println, it accepts only one argument, which is string. It is not accepting multiple arguments. So you can print only one at a time. So how do you do that then? How do you become smart? How do you use the tools provided by a programming language, and then you can access all the values inside a collection like this? How do you do that? That is exactly where I come in next.
You put it into a variable?
It is a variable. This is a variable. Nums is a variable, an array variable.
Can you use a looping statement and do it.
Exactly. We need to use a loop here. Okay, so that's exactly where I'm coming in up now. So I just say new class and I'll say test loops. And that is where I come in now. There are 4 different type of loops that we use in Java: a for loop, a while loop, a do while loop, and a for each loop. There are 4 different type of loops that we are going to use here. Okay. Let me use the for loop and explain this to you how it works. I will just put a main method here. I'll copy my code from the previous section, just like that. I'll bring it here. Okay. What is a loop? Loop means, as per whatever I just mentioned here, let me just say that to you. Loops are required to iterate multiple times over same set of instruction until the given condition is not true anymore. As simple as that. You want to iterate over and over again until your given condition is not true anymore. So that's the definition of a loop. There are different kind of loops: for loop, do while loop, for each loop. And let me cover the for loop here. So for int I equals 0. Let me write this code first. I less than names dot length I plus plus. What I just wrote here is a looping syntax. And there's a reason, whatever I wrote, there's a reason behind my syntax. What is my primary goal? Primary goal. Primary goal. What is my primary goal? My primary goal is to access all the elements within the array. From our previous discussion, what we understood is every array member is having its own index. Every array member is having its own index. That's what we have understood so far, right? So think about it. If I want to access my array index, what do? I should say names, and then I should say 0, or I should say 1, or I should say 2, or I should say 3, right? And if I can access all these different indexes, then eventually I will be able to get all these values. So think about it. If I can somehow manage to create a structure like this, where the names is basically the array and the index is nothing but a variable. I is a variable. Okay, and all I do is that I keep on incrementing or changing the value of I to I equals to 0, I equals to 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. If I can keep on doing that until I hit the last element, then I should be able to access all these values, right? That is my primary goal. To achieve, to somehow get all these values, right? That's exactly what I'm trying to do here. I'm creating a for loop, and there's a reason why the syntax is here. Look at this syntax very easily. You can understand. So int is a variable type, data type, and I is the variable, and I'm setting the value of the variable to 0. Why I'm setting this to 0? Because I want to access the 0th index. At the same time, I also want to access the last index because I want to cover all of these guys. So what is my last index? My last index is the names is the variable, the array variable, dot length. Dot length is a property of an array, and the length is going to tell me then what is the size of the array. The size of the array is what? 5. You have to understand there's a difference between index and the size. The size means how many elements it is storing right now. There are 5 elements it is storing right now. But if you say how many indexes are there, again, it is 5 indexes, starting from 0 to length minus 1. So size minus 1. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So size is 5, but the last index is 4. So size minus 1, which is exactly why I said I less than names dot length. So I'm just saying start it from 0 and crawl your way up to the last index. And how do you go from here to here? I go from here to here by incrementing the value of I by 1, which is why I say I plus plus. I plus plus is nothing but a short form of saying I equals to I plus 1. That's it. That's it. Now, if I do this all correctly, and if I just say that let's print out the value, I go and say sys out. Oh, sorry, no, not with this. I'll say sys out. I'll say names, and in square bracket I say I. And if I just go and run this, I get all of them right here with me. Right? Okay, sorry, I think I should run this one. Yeah, I got all of them here. Okay, now you see, I will change few things, okay? And you will see that the result will be varying. For example, here I don't want to start from 0. I want to start from 1. Okay, let's run this. Adam is not there. See that? Okay. If I'm starting from 0, but I don't want to go 1 by 1. I'm not going to say I plus plus. I don't want to increment the value of I by 1. I want to increment the value by 2. How can I do that? I can do something like this. I equals to, sorry, plus equals to 2. Plus equals to 2 means you're incrementing the value of I by 2. If I do that, what happens? Let's see the result. Do you see that? You are, so when you're looking at the syntax, people try to mug up. Don't mug it up. Programming is nothing to do with like just going through it and then just trying to remember it and then just trying to memorize it. It's not about memorizing, it's about logically understanding what you're doing. Okay, break down things. Only then you will really be able to understand the nuts and bolts of any programming language, right? This is a looping mechanism I just showed to you. For loop. Similarly, we have do while loop, for each loop, and while loop. Okay, I'm going to use another loop to you right now. I'm going to show you another loop to you right now because that will make sense. Other 2 loops I will keep it for the main training. So you see, whatever hassle I did with this for loop, whatever hassle I did with for loop, like creating a starting point, an ending point, and then incrementing it, all of this I did, right? I can actually skip it, all of this. I can skip this whole hassle. How can I do that? I will comment this out, this entire thing, and I will write another type of loop, and we call this as a for each loop. And it will go like this: for string name : names. I'm not really using any iterator or any variable or any condition, nothing. Let me just show this to you. Named. Okay. This for loop is built specially for collections. All you need to remember is this particular small syntax. What is the syntax saying? The syntax is saying that you are just specifying which array or which collection you want to run over. Okay. And the second thing you have to remember is you have to just say, if you just think that what this array is actually containing, or what is the data type of this array is. Is it a string array? It is a number array? Is it a Boolean array? What array is it? Obviously, in this case, it's a string array. So I'm just saying it's a string data type. And I'm giving a temporary variable here called name. So what this for loop will do automatically, it will automatically iterate each and every of those names one by one. And for each and every iteration, it will push that value to the respective variable. And that variable I'm accessing here. If I run this, just see how simple is it. If I run this, you get all the values here again. And I didn't deal with any length or incrementer or any variable, nothing. The simple syntax, but this guy always is preferable to work with collections. And there are various types of collections in Java. Array is the basic one. You have array list, you have hash map, you have linked hash map, you have set, you have tree. There are so many of them, right? So I'm just covering up array right now for your understanding. Okay. So that is that here. All right. Let's go to the next part, which is var args. Okay, var args. Var args is an awesome thing, and I'm going to write a program for you here. Var args is basically a parameter type. Okay, a parameter type which will let you perform certain kind of operation, and I will exactly tell you what I mean by this. For example, view. Come on, man. Window, show view, package explorer. Okay. And here I'm going to say new class test var args. Okay. Test var args. And what I'm going to do, a main method. Okay. And what do I do here? I'm going to say, I'm going to create another method. So I'll keep the name of the method as public static void sum. Okay. Within the method, what is the method? I will explain in a minute. Int A, int B. And this method is here to print out the summation or the addition, just a result of addition is, you can just say A plus B. So what am I doing here, guys? All I'm doing here is, in this variable, in this method is basically a piece of code which can be executed or which can be called multiple times to perform an operation. What is this method is doing? This method is simply adding two values and printing that result for me. So in this method, I'm parameterizing this method. I'm saying I want to print this method with, or I want to add two numbers, and the two numbers are A and B. So when I call the method from another method, I will pass the actual values, and this method will give me the result. For example, let me do this for you and show it to you. So I will just say sum, like this, sum, and I go 5, 7, just like that, right? And I go run this. If I do it, I get the value 12. So this method is one guy which can give me the result of two number addition. If I say 12 plus 12, it gives me 24 back, or it prints out 24. The job of this method is to provide me with some output. That is a method, okay? Now, I have given you this simple method to print the result of two numbers, addition of two numbers. What if I have a requirement? The requirement is this. I want you to add multiple numbers and give me the value of those numbers. I'm saying multiple numbers. I'm not giving you any like a end point. I'm not saying 5 number, 10 number, 20 number. I'm not saying that. I'm saying multiple numbers and then give me the result of it. Can we do that? We can. We can do that with the help of var args. So let me just create a method, public, static. I know I have not explained static and void and public. We'll probably see it tomorrow, okay? So public static void, and then we'll say sum, and then we'll say int, okay? You see, I'm trying to get multiple values printed. Clara, I plus plus means you are incrementing the value of I by 1. Okay, if you say I plus equals to 2, you mean you are incrementing the value of I by 2. Okay, so here I'm saying int dot 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 num, right? This section that I just did right now, is a var args. This guy over here can accept multiple values. You want to see something? See this. I can call sum, because this method is also named as sum. And you can see I'm passing 12, 23, 34, 56, 78, 90. And I can keep on sending multiple values to it. If I don't have this method here, then it will give me an error, because it will try to see that this method is having only 2 parameters to accept. I cannot really pass on all these 4 numbers here. I cannot do that. Correct? I cannot do that. So you need this guy here, var args, to process multiple numbers. All right. So now, when I have got multiple numbers here, what can I do? I should be able to loop around all these numbers, and finally I want to get the summation done. How can I do it? I will use a for loop. Okay, number one, I will use a temporary variable, int temp equals 0. I'm creating a temporary variable, number one. And then I'll do a for loop for int I, whatever I showed you earlier, int I less than num dot length, same syntax, I plus plus, same syntax. Okay, so basically I mean whatever these variables are coming, whatever these values are coming, I'm going to loop around, and all I'm going to say is temp equals to temp plus num of I. Whatever I wrote here, I will explain that. Okay, and then finally I'm going to say the same thing, but over here I will just say temp. let me run this for you and let me explain it why it is working. Do you see that? It works. So let me tell you why it is working. It's important for you to understand why it is working. So just to see how things are done very easily. So you understood that I got all these 6 numbers in here, okay, when I call this method. And then I'm looping around those 6 numbers, okay? Now think about it. At the very first iteration, the value of this particular line, this particular section is what? 12, okay? And the temporary variable is having the value as 0. So 0 plus 12 is how much? 12. So the value of 12 is now given to the temporary variable called 12. You understand? In this line number 21, temporary variable was having the value as 0 at the initial stage. I added the 0 with 12, so I got the total value as 12. And then this 12, this whole value 12, is given to the temporary variable, right? The temporary variable is now having the value as 12. Make sense? Now, I iterate again. When I iterate again, the value of temporary variable is 12 now from the previous iteration. But now the second iteration is having the value as 23. So 12 plus 23 is how much? 25. So the 25 value is now given to temporary variable. Correct? Third iteration comes out, but the temporary variable is having the value as 25 plus 34, and you get the value again. So this will be 59. Correct? And this iteration will keep on continuing until I hit num.length. As simple as that. Make sense? That's how this program worked out for me. It's called var args.
This 35, not 25.
Sorry, what is that? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, int ... space num. That's a syntax, and it's called var args. Is the same syntax applicable to all data types? Yes, it is. You can say string ... names as well, and yeah, it will be accessible to any data types. Aisha, okay.
Which one? Variable argument is accessible to other data types like string also, just to be mentioned.
Yeah.
String ... like this.
Exactly. That's what it is.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So that is exactly where I end up today's class, guys. I would like to understand, how do you feel about first 2 days of training?
Great. Thank you so much.
Are you guys able to understand this now? Things are not rocket science. It's very logical. Yeah, Clara, you want to say something?
Oh no, like I was about to say that I think I got a bit lost towards the end, so I'm going to rewatch the video.
So some things were a little bit confusing to you, is it?
Yeah. I mean, it's just a lot to to do.
Yeah, this is
only
the
one
reason.
go.
No, so Clara, and for everybody, right? This is the reason why I have offered you guys a boot camp for 5 days, for you to understand that this is not something that you can just learn in a 5 days thing, right? It's not a 5 days thing. It needs practice. It needs a little bit of patience, and which is why, the full training that I offer, where I help people like you to get a job. I train you for 4 months. I give you 250 practical assignments to complete, and that's the reason why you get that confidence in you and you get the job.
Yeah.
Right. So at times, at the initial stage when you're getting started, I know it will be a little bit confusing, but you have to be a little bit patient and follow along with the training and the assignments that I provide you, ideally, right?
Yep.
So yeah, but the point is that there are a lot of things to learn here. If your idea is to work in test automation domain and significantly increase your salary, because I don't know whether you are aware of the fact or not, but in European zone, a developer and a test automation engineer is equally well paid, and there is a significant difference in the salary of a manual tester and an automation engineer. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that, but that's the market research. I mean, you can even talk to the HRs that you find in LinkedIn. They will tell you about it. Joseph, you have anything to talk about?
No, I think I'm fine with it.
Okay, very good, very good. Others, guys, Elvis, do you have anything to comment? Bilal?
Oh, great job. No, it's straightforward so far. I was even able to watch the video from the first class, and it was really good. It helped me. I was going to ask you, you help with placement also, like on getting interviews?
So this is what happens, right? As I said yesterday to you, that in last 1 year, 77 people came to me, and I got 59 people job. I didn't send them to any interview, or I do not have any connection with any companies. The point is that I explain things in a way where you learn it to the level that you clear the interview. I'm talking about people who had never touched programming ever in their life. They were working in manual testing all through, like for 14 years. If you go to my website, which is wisdomqa.com, and I encourage you to actually watch some of these video reviews. So let me open this section up. This section here, what our student said. If you just come here and if you just hear them out, these people, they were literally struggling to find a job in their profile, with their profile of having like 14, 15 years of experience. Some people had job loss, like this lady here, Joanna. Where are you? Here, Joanna. She lost her job during pandemic. 7 years of experience in manual testing. And I keep things very clean and transparent. If you go to her profile right from the LinkedIn profile, you can see this lady was working for Viasat and a few other companies for 7 years. If we just come here, let me close these things. Okay, so 7 years of experience in manual testing. Even during pandemic, she lost her job. She came to me, and within 2 months, I got her a job in Air Lingus. Not even 4 months, 2 months. If you go to the this particular section, and if you hear these people out, they will let you know what has happened with this training. And if you are proactive, if you are dedicated with me, then you will find a job with me. I do not send your CV to any company. I create your CV, I prepare your CV so that your CV gets picked up. I create a particular format that is likable for the recruiters, and then they will call you for the interview, and then they will get you a job. This guy, Charles, as I was telling you yesterday, he just completed the training, 4 months training, and immediately within 2 weeks, he got a job in UK. Similarly, all these people, right? This guy has 3 years of experience only in manual testing. I trained him. This guy has landed a £75,000 job in UK. All these profiles are there. You can go and you can even chat with them if you want to. But anyways, all I'm trying to say here is that if you have that proactiveness to follow my training tactics, assignments, if you come back to me with questions, if you show me the proactiveness, then you will just not clear the interview, but also you will be productive from day one. All these people that I'm showing you here, so 58 people got the job. Obviously, all of them didn't give me the video reviews, right? But whoever gave, I'm showing it to you. And then if you Google me, there are Google reviews as well. But anyways, what I'm trying to say here is that all these people are productive from day one. I'm not helping them. They're productive from day one. And automation is a big thing to learn. It's just not about writing some, driver.find element to interact with the web component. It's not about that. It's about implementing a software to test another software. You have to understand it. And when that comes, then there are so many other things comes to it. For example, the best practices, creating a maintainable piece of system. How do you process data? How do you generate reports? How do you run same test case in multiple environments? There are so many different things, so which you have to learn. So yeah, what I'm saying is that there are a lot to learn. In next 3 more days, I will try to give you as much as I can. And then after the 5th day, I will let you guys book a call with me. So next week, I won't be available in Dublin. That means this 27th week, I will not be here in Dublin. I'm coming back on 3rd of July. And then if you guys are happy to work with me, then I'm planning to start a new batch either on 10th of July or 17th of July. Okay, so I will talk about that in the last day. But I hope in this 2 days, you have learned something from me. And I hope that it has opened up some, good opportunities or knowledge for you. So I will see you guys tomorrow in the class again. I will upload this video, as soon as it's possible, and then we can come back tomorrow and start from the next slide. Okay. Is that fine, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Oh,
Bye.
See you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. Take care. See you tomorrow.